I know, Godzilla, it's happening again, and it's going to happen again in the future, and again and again and again. We all knew this was coming. We knew. But it doesn't make it any less annoying. You may have heard, or maybe you don't care. Either way, the Wii U and 3DS eShop, it's closing. It's a sad announcement that really bums me out. But it bums me out for a lot of different reasons, and we're going to talk about those here today. First off, I, like most of you out there, probably heard this announcement, and that day or the next day, we're panicking and making lists and trying to plan, like, oh, what game should I get that I haven't bought on the digital eShop yet for my 3DS? Like, oh, this game was great. I heard this is good. I never got to play it. Or on the Wii U, oh, there's all these GBA games that I never got to play. Okay, I gotta get this one. Gotta get this one. But you know what? I made that list. I watched those YouTube videos, like many of you, for looking for hidden gems and that kind of stuff. And I just sat back and I just kind of took a breath and said, let's think about this before I sink like hundreds of dollars into some digital games here. Money I don't really have at this point, being a dad and everything like that. Let's take a breath. Let's think about this. So a few weeks have gone by and I've realized something. I can live without buying any more of these games. So I've decided I'm just not going to give Nintendo any more of my money on the 3DS or the Wii U eShop. And part of me is actually thinking about not buying anything else on the Switch eShop. We all know that the Switch will eventually close its eShop as well. And at this point in time, I'm kind of thinking, like, why? Why should I throw money at a library that I know I'm not going to have access to in the future? It's a good question, isn't it? I mean, it's something we should all ask ourselves. Like, should we truly be investing our money in things that we're not going to have in the future? I mean, nothing lasts forever. We all know that, right? We could talk about that more in a second here. But, I would expect that if you're buying something digitally from a reputable company like Nintendo, that you would have access to that for forever, right? But no, it's not the case. I think this is a hard realization that if you spent a good chunk of money on digital games on the 3DS, that at some point, those are just gone. Now, I know you guys are like, oh, RC, you're being so dramatic. You still have your games on the memory card and everything like that. But truth be told, hey, listen, you download all your games on that memory card. Let's say your 3DS finally conks out on you. Even if you get a new 3DS, that memory card is not going to work on that new 3DS. There's like some kind of authentication certificate thing that prevents you from transferring your stuff via memory card to another one. Like, you have to do some kind of a actual system transfer. Like, one system has to be on to transfer to the other one to make that your primary. And it's a complicated process that Nintendo put in place on purpose, by the way. And yeah, so you're just gonna lose out on those games eventually. Well, RC, you should have bought physical cards. Well, I thought about that too. I thought about the physical card thing, and that doesn't make much sense in this day and age either. Back in the 90s, when you had the SNES and the Nintendo 64 on a cartridge, it made a lot more sense. Buy physical. I mean, it was your only option back then. But today, it doesn't really matter. And that's because of the day one patch. You might get a Switch in the future that's factory refurbished, completely factory reset. And you might get, one of your games out of the closet. You're like, oh, cool, I'm going to play this. You pop it in, and maybe an error pops up and says, hey, you got to apply the day one update. Oh, can't connect to the eShop because, the Switch's eShop doesn't exist anymore. And you're like, oh my God, I don't have access to this anymore. I can't play this game. Or hey, you might actually play the game fine, but maybe like 2 hours in, you go back to the game, load up your save, and it says your save is corrupted because there was a save corrupting bug in the game that they fixed in a later update that you don't have access to. So like I said, I've done a lot of thinking about this. I've done a lot of soul searching about where I'm going to put my money as far as gaming goes, because gaming is an expensive hobby, guys, is it not? Yeah. I mean, have you seen some of these collector's editions that come out for games are like over $200 for like a figure in the game and an art book and stuff? It's like, it's cool stuff, but like, I'm not buying that stuff anymore, man. I'm not saying I don't collect games. I'm not saying I don't buy physical games, but at the end of the day, when it comes to Nintendo and it comes to these systems specifically, man, I'm just feeling very dejected to a point where I'm like, nah, no more. Now, it's not saying I'm not going to play Nintendo games anymore. At the end of the month, the new Kirby's coming out. I'm really looking forward to playing that game, for instance. But I will be buying that physically. The reason being is because when the Switch is dead and gone, the eShop is dead and gone, I still have that physical cart, and with that physical cart, I can at least sell that to somebody else who wants to collect it. I don't really look at my gaming stuff as a collection, but I do look at it as an investment because it's expensive. If you buy a digital game, there's nowhere to trade it into. You buy that game for 60 bucks, it is yours for as long as the eShop remains open and your system remains functional. And that's it. That is it. That is the definition of buying a digital game on a Nintendo platform. So because of that, the whole idea of the Nintendo platform, their eShops and everything like that, I've been thinking about where would be a good place to invest my money? Well, one comes to mind immediately, and that is on Steam. Now, you guys might be like, whoa, Steam? I mean, come on, guys. It's PC. PC's not a platform. Of course PC's a platform. Listen, I know how some of you feel about playing games on a PC. You want your little console, you want to put the disc in, you're like, it just works. You know, sometimes it doesn't just work, though. Have you heard these stories from some people with their newer systems coming out or a game coming out? Patch doesn't work correctly. But here's the thing about Steam. Valve just recently came out with a Steam Deck, so you don't technically need a PC to play Steam games now. You can buy the portable, which you can get one for $400, well, when they're available anyway, if you're not on the waiting list like, well, everybody is. But that's only $100 more than the base Switch model, and I think it's only $50 more than the Switch OLED model. So for 400 bucks, you can get a nice portable Steam Deck and play these games that you'll have access to forever. And why do I say forever? You're like, RC, why are you so sure that these games are going to stick around? Well, Steam has actually been around for quite a long time. And if you bought a game from 14 or 15 years ago, chances are if you pick up your Steam Deck, you're still going to have access to that game to play on your Steam Deck from 14 or 15 years ago. Now, I know some publishers and whatnot, they delist their games and whatnot, but if you bought the game, you own it. You can download it off of Steam whenever you want. Now, guys, I know some people are afraid to get into PC gaming because of like issues with the machine, and PC is a little bit more intimidating than just, you know, popping a console in and whatnot. I get it. I understand where you're coming from. But at the end of the day, you got to think about it like this. You have a company who has not been around as long as Nintendo, but seems to have better business practices and kind of has your better interest in mind when it comes to letting you play the games you own, on a digital platform no less. Which leads me to my last point here that I wanted to talk about before I go today, which is just talking about the availability of these Nintendo games. So the 3DS and the Wii U are two very unique systems. There's nothing like them out there. You know, you got the one that's a dual screen thing with a 3D built into the screen and, you know, a stylus that you can use on the bottom screen to do certain things. It's a very unique machine. Then you have the Wii U that, like, the controller has a screen in it that you combine with the TV and use your stylus to play, you know, Mario Maker. It's a Mario Maker machine, which I think most people thought of it as, but to build levels on and do whatever else with. Like I said, both machines very unique, and those unique experiences are completely going away. Eventually, the 3DS and the Wii U are just gonna die off. All of the systems will break at some point, right? All of the eShops and digital games will be gone. All the physical cards won't work at some point, right? And those experiences will be gone. Now, you have games from the arcade and Atari from back in the 70s and 80s that, you know, in television, these games still exist today because all they were was a game on a cartridge that you played with a joystick, single screen. Nothing crazy about that. These games are crazy, okay? These are great games that support two screens. They support lots of touch movement. It's just like something you can't emulate easily. And in television game, you just load it up on the screen on a, boom, there it is. You play it, you move the guy. That's it. That's all there is to it. These are much more complex games. So closing down the eShop just feels like a smack to the face because there's nowhere else to get this experience, and it's just gonna go away. And the Wii U offers some really, really great games. Like, you can buy both of the Metroids that came out on the GBA on the Wii U. I think they're like $6, $7, $8 a piece or something like that. So you can get them at a really cheap price too. And that's all just gonna be gone. And that's the other thing too, like having access to Nintendo's Virtual Console or a retro library that you can buy from will also be going. No 64 games, no SNES games, no Game Boy Advance games. And believe me, I know you can play them on the Switch online membership thing. Like, I get that, but that's still like, it's a rental. It's a rental place, right? You're basically renting out these two apps that you will only have access to if you pay for the year membership. And some of them you only have access to if you pay a lot more on top of that. And they're going to eventually do that with the GBA, right? That's why they're taking the Wii U away and making it so you can't buy games on there anymore, because they want you to subscribe. And I know some of you out there are like, you know, RC, you're a big supporter of Game Pass though, and those games aren't around forever. However, they are. Game Pass is kind of more like I think of it as more of a rental service. You know what I'm saying? Because all of these games that are on Game Pass are available to purchase. With the Nintendo Online membership, all of these games are on a permanent rental basis. You cannot buy them anywhere else. I get the business decision. This is all a business decision that they're doing this for, right? They want the bottom line to all be pointing to one system, the Switch. Because the Switch has sold, what, how many millions, like over 100 million or something like that? Some obnoxious, crazy number. I think it's Nintendo's best-selling console now. So they want all their income pointing there, and they want people to subscribe to the online thing. I get it. But at the moment, Game Boy Advance games are not available anywhere else. And you know how expensive retro carts are right now? I don't even mean for just the retro systems like NES and SNES. I mean, look at the Game Boy Advance. Have you seen how much a copy of Metroid Fusion is, or Zero Mission is, on the Game Boy Advance? Oh my God. So take away the option to be able to buy that game digitally for under 10 bucks somewhere. It's just like, man. Now, of course, at this point, this leaves you with like one option on the 3DS and the Wii U, and that is to emulate. On my channel, we don't really talk about emulation all that much, right? But going forward, it's going to have to be the option for unique experiences like this. If you want a game on a 3DS that is exorbitantly expensive, which it will be in the next coming years here because they're closing the eShop, where you could have gotten it cheaper, people are going to resort to emulation and homebrew to get these games to play them the way they were meant to be played. But yeah, man, I am just kind of bummed out by this whole situation here. But like I said, I can definitely tell you one thing. Nintendo is definitely not going to get much more of my money as far as digital sales are concerned. I just hope one day they're actually able to make some kind of digital library and show all the things that you bought at one point. Like if I bought Metroid Fusion on the Wii U, man, I should be able to download and play that game again on the Switch. I don't see why that's not a thing besides, you know, the business reason. But like I said, there are places like Steam that you can go to. You may not be able to get Mario games, but pretty much anything else is coming up there. Even all of Microsoft's games are going up there. Sony has been putting some of the PlayStation 4 games up there, like God of War, Horizon Zero Dawn, those are up there. So eventually everything's going to go to Steam. So it might be something to think about, guys. Anyway, thanks for watching. I'll see you all in the next one.